Hello, 7th graders. Today's lesson is on 2-7, starting on page 119. I can solve equations with rational numbers. So you've learned how to solve division, subtraction, multiplication, and addition equations so far this year in chapter 1. And now we're just adding some rational numbers like decimals and fractions, both positive and negative. So we're going to kind of combine a bunch of skills today. We're going to combine our integer skills, we're going to combine our working with rational number skills, and we're just going to do a great job. Take some notes. Remember to record 2 things you learn, 1 thing you maybe are still wondering about, and bring those notes to class and make sure you're discussing with a classmate to keep yourself refreshed. So solve the equations. Addition and subtraction equations. Remember the words inverse operation. Okay? That means whatever you did to the variable is what you're gonna do the opposite to undo it. So in this first problem, we see p minus 7 and 36 hundredths is 2 and 84 hundredths. So after we subtracted 7 and 36 hundredths, we got 2 and 84 hundredths. So we want to find out what we had before we subtracted, so we add that number back because addition is the inverse of subtraction. When we do that, we get a 0 here, so we just have 1 p left. And then we add these together, and we end up with, add the 0 here. Did I do the numbers wrong? Is that a 3? Can't read my own writing. And that should be a 2 and a 1. So then we have 10 and 20 hundredths, or 2/10. You can check your answer again by plugging it in. 10 and 2/10, or 20 hundredths, minus 7 and 36 hundredths is 2 and 84 hundredths. Do your math on this side, and you should end up with the same thing, so a reflexive property, which tells you this number is the solution to make this statement true. Okay? Another one with fractions. I see addition in this equation, so I know I'm going to use the inverse of subtraction to solve. So I see t plus 3/4 is 1/2. So I subtract 3/4 to solve. Here, now on this side I just have t, but what I notice here is I have 1/2 plus minus 3/4, and I know that I need a common denominator. Remember that word? A common denominator to be able to add or subtract fractions. So I look for my least common multiple of my denominators, and I see that that's going to be 4. So I really just need to change this 1/2 by a factor of 2 over 2. So I have 2/4, which is the same as 1/2, minus 3/4 is going to be t. And well, now I can just subtract my numerators. 2 minus 3 I know is add the opposite. Negative 1/4 is the same as t. Then you can plug that back in to check. And if we did that, which we should, we have 1/2 is equal to t, which was negative 1/4, plus 3/4. And if I do that, I have 1/2 is equal to negative plus a positive, more positives than negatives. And if I simplify, I know that 2/4 is the same as 1/2. So I am incorrect. Okay, if you want to pause the screen and try these 3, that might be a good idea. Same kind of concept on A and B. On the C1, you may need to do some converting. See that you have different factors, and you may need to change them first to improper fractions to be able to work with them, and then adjust. So remember, those mixed numbers need to go to improper fractions. Take a pause as I move on and try those ones out. Multiplication and division equations. Remember, again, the inverse operation. Multiplication and division are each other's inverse operations. You need to remember that here. I'll just write there. Another thing you need to remember is reciprocals or multiplicative inverses. That is when, say we have 1/2, we can get 1/2 to 1 by multiplying by its flipped number, reciprocal of 2 over 1. Okay, so multiplying and dividing can be flipped. So here I see 4/7 of b is 16. So I'm going to rewrite that so I have room. So 4/7 times b equals 16. I'm multiplying. So I would use division to solve, but 4/7 divided by 4/7 is really the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I multiply by 7/4 because that cancels to 1, and I just want to know what 1b is. I do the same thing on the other side, 7/4. I know how to multiply fractions straight across, but in this case I can cross cancel first. I know 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 16 4 times. So then I have a 7 times 4, which is the same as 28. Okay, and I can plug that in and check my answer. So when I do that, I have 4/7 times 28, and I'd put it over 1, is equal to 16. In my notes, I did a 6. Silly. And here I can cross cancel again to make it easier. 7 goes into 7 once, goes into 28 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. And when I get this reflexive property, I know that this solution worked to make the original statement true and stay equal. Very good. Same kind of thing on this one, except for now we have decimals. And again, we're multiplying m by negative 7.7 3/10 to get to 58 4/10. So I know I should do division to solve because I know that dividing 7 3/10 by 7 3/10 will give me 1, and I just want to know what 1m is. I can make a prediction here. A positive divided by a negative should be a negative. And then could use a calculator, or I can just kind of think, I know this is going to be 8, so a negative 8. And I should check my solution, especially if it says so. If your homework says check your solution, you really need to get used to doing that. It's the best way to know that your answer is correct, because we can all make simple mistakes here and there. And then if we plug them in and it doesn't work out, then we know we can have to go find our mistake. So 58 4/10 is equal to negative 7 3/10 times negative 8. Well, what I know is I know 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 7 is 56. Technically, 8 3/10 would be 2.4. So it would be 56 plus 2.4, which would give me 58.4. So my solution, which I should write variable first, please remember this is negative 8. So again, you can try these two. On this one, you are going to have to remember reciprocal. Okay? And on this one, you are going to have to remember your integer rules. So pause there and try to figure those out. And you can check them in your book, check them with someone at the class, check with me tomorrow. Word problems, page 120. During practice, a soccer player completed 18 goals, which were 9/25 of his goal attempts. Okay? So write and solve an equation to determine his goal attempts. So we're going to look at the words. 9/25 of the goal attempts is 18. So what we don't know is the goal attempts. So we let G represent that and give a variable for what we don't know. We know of means multiplication, so we're going to multiply those two things. We know is equals, so we're going to set them equal to 18. Okay? Again, you just write down what you read, and that's the really nice part about math. So we have 9/25 of something is 18. So write that out. And then you multiply each side by 25/9 because it's the reciprocal or the multiplicative inverse of 9/25. So we do that here. And you end up with approximately 50, because if this is going to end up as a part of it, put this over 1, 9 goes in here once, 9 goes in here twice. 50, it says approximately 50. I'm not sure why right now. Just simplify 50 over 1. So the soccer player tried to score 50 times and ended up scoring 18. So a little bit less than half. Here's another word problem, and we're going to be asked to write and solve an equation. So Larissa pays 25 cents per minute for long distance calls on her cell phone. Her long distance charge last month was $5. Write and solve an equation that could be used to determine the number of minutes she used to make a long distance call. So since I'm determining the number of minutes, I know that's what I don't know, so I'm going to make that M. What I do know about the minutes is that she pays 25 cents per minute, per meaning each one. So if she called 1 minute, it'd be 25 cents. 2 minutes, it'd be 50 cents, and so on. So that's that repeated addition or multiplication. So that's going to be that 25 cents times each minute. And I also know that her bill was, meaning equal to, $5 whole. So that's my equation. 25 cents per minute gets her $5. How many minutes did it take to go from 25 cents to 5? So I divide by 25 cents, which dividing by 25 cents is the same as dividing by 1/4, I hope you know. So what that really is like, instead of dividing this by 1/4, it's really like multiplying by the reciprocal, which is just 4. So if you didn't have a calculator, if you can make those transitions from decimals to fractions, you're going to be in good shape. So I end up with the minutes she talked long distance was 20. So I would record that since it's a word problem. Larissa talked for 20 minutes. I know my smartboard's kind of messy, but you can do a great job on your paper. So hopefully, that was kind of a fast one. Kind of a recap of equations, a recap of stuff this chapter. So as long as you can remember those things and just calmly work on your work and really think about numbers as for what they are and not too much about steps and things like that, then you should be in good shape. So rewatch the video if you need to. Go back and try those problems. Check the extra practice in the back of your book. Watch Mr. Lentz, Ms. Hoff, Ms. Greiner. It's up to you. And don't forget to take your IQ. It is uploaded, I promise you. And make sure you bring those notes to class. So good luck, and we'll see you then.